Alright gurus, happy new year. Just got the Dmax in the shed here, had an ABS light on for about 8 months. And I was just putting a 3-inch lift in it from the 4-inch, and I noticed a cut wire, and that was already about 2 months ago. So today I got a bit of time, I'm going to try to join that wire back up. Hopefully that's the problem. Got it all jacked up here, still got the Cortina on the hoist. The diff guy who I'm using to rebuild the diff has just been screwing me around big time. Hopefully something happens about that soon enough. Check out our pads just because I only just changed these, so they're alright. And I've never really inspected these or anything like that since I put these control arms in, and I've given it a good beating, as I always do. But basically, because of the thickness of the tyres, it takes a lot of braking to get them to skid, which I pretty much can never achieve. And then the weight, like the whole thing weighs like 3.6 tons, so I can stop that very quickly, which puts a lot of stress on everything, including this suspension, and that's why the stock control arms were failing, as well as the angle because of the lift in it. Yeah, but these ones are definitely so far looking tough enough, and it does make sense. They're big ass chunky ones. The old ones weren't this tough looking. I don't know where the rough wire looked, but I have done the other side before, and this side doesn't look like it has the heat shrink on it, so I might just bust these things off because I feel like it's just somewhere around here. You can see a bit of rippage there. Okay, so as you can see as well, this bracket is all bent up, and this little tang that's supposed to keep it in place on this bracket was bent, and it was not in position. I was pulling it off. Here's the problem, there's no connection. Look at that, they're busted, so I'll just chop it off, rejoin it. I'll try bend the bracket around a little bit and see if it changes. Okay, so I've mangled the bracket roughly right, and tried to use a screwdriver to pry it out so I could get the wire free, and pretty much just cut it where it's all broken. Looks like it cut both of the wires. Actually one might still be intact, which would be nice. Alright, so one of these wires is pretty good, so if it's both, you have to join both, and the wire gets sort of messy because you join two at the same spot. So okay, that wire is good inside there, it's just the one. Bit of a pain to do all that, but basically now we have it exposed. You can see the brake. The other one is, the other one's exposed a little bit, so I'll just electrical tape that one. I was kind of hoping to put some heat shrink on it, but I probably should have gave myself a little bit more room. Maybe I'll do that. I'll sort of put a bit of extra copper on, just so I don't have to make it any shorter, because that's sort of why this was happening, because of that 4-inch lift kit, which pretty much had it at max flex all the time, which was not good. Alright, so I've just stripped heaps more of this stuff off, so I've got room for heat shrink and getting the wire grabbed on properly. So you're always going to want to make sure your soldering iron's like hot as, ready to go too, otherwise it makes the soldering a bit rough. You just let it cook in there, and it melts right in real good for a solid proper join. And I keep a rag with me whenever I use it, and make sure my hands aren't on it properly, and just clean the tip up. Yeah, well, I forgot to put the heat shrink on, so electrical tape is our next best option. If you're not short on time, you can always just cut it off and re-solder it all. But I do plenty of joins with just electrical tape going over it. Wrap it up real tight. It's never the best, as good as the heat shrink. That stuff does a proper good seal. It'd be a lot worse if both of the wires were exposed next to each other. Okay, all wrapped up. Now I just got to tighten that up later. Put everything back on and crimp that back down. Alright, I'll just fire it up and see what happens. So the light's still on now. There's a chance that I'll have to like disconnect the battery for a bit or something like that, and then maybe even like have to plug a computer in. So I'll disconnect the battery and see how it goes and put everything else back together, and there might just be another fault anyway, so see what happens. Negative terminal off, and I'll just let it sit while we put back the other stuff. I have to bend it open a bit more. Now do it. Crunch it up. And hopefully I didn't mangle it much because I was bending it kind of hard. Okay, I'll just put the nut back and then bend the bracket so nothing's in the road. I don't really think there'd be any other kind of ABS problems with this thing, although even like just being that it's lifted up so high, you never know, like maybe at the back it's stretching out somewhere, so there might be another ripped one with both of them on the back. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes and I'm getting too keen anyway, so put it together, see what we get. Alright, do have a bad feeling about it. Still hanging around now. And it's still on. Oh well, I'll take it for a drive later and see what happens, or maybe even leaving the battery disconnected for a little bit longer might kick something in. But for now I'll call it a day. Actually, there's another touch up I got to do where I think one of these this bearing right here, I think is playing up. It's making a noise and I've seen it sort of shaking around. I can hear something coming from there. Anyway, one step closer to having the best Dmax out. Thanks for watching.